We have a number of updates about Tesla sales and a focus on a Cybertruck today. First, is Tesla now selling their vehicles in Costco? Apparently yes, but then Elon Musk just canned it. Second, we have a number of videos to share today about the Cybertruck, from a new Tucker Carlson review to Trump getting it as a gift and debunking a test that showed the Cybertruck broke off its bumper and tow hitch. Finally, we have Elon now saying that other companies' electric vehicles are currently being sold at negative gross margins, but this will not last very long. I've got Hans Nelson joining us, and Hans has his own YouTube channel called Hans C. Nelson. Welcome, Hans.
Thanks for having me, Herbert.
Let's go watch these Cybertruck videos. They're always fun, but you know, there's still attacks from other people, and other companies are attacking them, but you can't stop the juggernaut of the Cybertruck. You'll see that Trump and Tucker and other people are marketing this like crazy. So this is very, very interesting, this first story. It looked like, it turned out that Tesla is selling its cars, its vehicles at Costco stores in Taiwan. Tesla's partnered with Costco in Taiwan to sell its vehicles at Costco stores, even to the point that the first 50 people that buy a car, Tesla will give you 5,000 kilometers or 3,100 miles free supercharger miles, Type 2 charger case for travel. And you can see that looks very, very sophisticated. This is the ad that they showed. Costco Summer Car Exhibition, limited time only. Only members get to do this. This is the, looks great. And now it's in Taiwan. So of course it was written in Chinese. And so then to the point that Farzad said, hey, Tesla's totally doing this as a trial before they'll bring this to the US for their own fleet. Mark my words. Elon, of course, immediately replied to Farzad saying, I just canned this program, was not approved. So there's no need to mark Farzad's words. But it did make sense, doesn't it, to sell it to Costco, or doesn't it? What do you think, Fonz?
Yeah, it's, kind of an interesting thing. Tesla is such a interesting company in that it gives a lot of its employees basically keys to the kingdom, where they get to make decisions and try things and gather data. And then, once they have more data, then they can make a final decision. Was that something that makes sense, or was that not something that makes sense? So on the one hand, it is a little bit surprising to me that Elon went ahead and stepped in and canned this program so decisively and so quickly without letting this experiment play out, which leads me to believe that it's got to violate some fundamental principle that Elon has. And I think the most likely scenario is really twofold. A, the best part is no part. The best process is no process. The best person in your sales funnel outside of Tesla is no person outside of Tesla. And so I think that just having someone else in the loop in the process of selling to consumers is the thing that Elon is opposed to in this situation. And, it for a couple of reasons. A, added complexity, an additional process, but B, it disintermediates Tesla's ability to be that direct point of contact through the selling process, which is one of the places where they get a lot of their data that they use to actually make decisions. And so I think for, both the complexity reasons and the ability to actually directly gather all that data from those customer interactions, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But obviously, there's a lot of people that would like to have the ability to do something like this. And so it's something that I could also see in the future maybe making a comeback if the people who were performing this trial, if they have the ability to get in front of Elon and they can convince him with real data, rather than just him making a snap decision on this, there's a possibility that something like this could come back. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. I don't think the likelihood on that is high. But like I said, on the flip side, I know a lot of people would love to see something like this.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I like what you said. It's like, Elon already decided not to use dealers. And so this is almost like a dealer, right? There's another party that is between you and your customer. Why do you need this? You've got online. Just tell people, go online and do it. I don't know. We don't know the details of how it actually happens. But and then the other part is advertising. Here's Costco marketing you to their customers. Is that something he doesn't want, doesn't need? But I think the second part, what you said, is where it makes sense, which is he's already saying, right, every single customer buys a vehicle, you want to give them a 10 to 15 minute test drive of the full self-driving. How do you do that if you're buying it through Costco? Again, we don't know the details. Like, do they go to Costco? Do they use the online website of Tesla to order? Do they drive away with a Tesla at Costco? That they've all that doesn't make any sense at all to me. So, yeah. Let's take a look at Cybertruck. So there's a number of videos we're going to share here today. First, of course, is Tucker Carlson. He went out and I guess you were telling me that he gave this Cybertruck to this guy in Maine, rural, to see if he thinks it will be able to be a good truck for his services. So let's listen in a little bit just to watch what he says.
That's exactly. Yeah. So let's take the Cybertruck and do some of the things that you would do with your Ford on a normal day. By the way, I love your sawmill.
Oh, thank you.
Could you?
Work in progress. Yeah, I mean, the Ford, for a rural man, this is every rural man. I'm a one truck guy. A lot of people have a work truck and a going to church truck.
Yep.
I like the one truck theory. It's just me and my wife. She has a truck now. I just bought her a new truck. I work out of my truck. I nap in my truck. I hunt out of my truck. I tow with my truck. I do all my stuff is in my truck. Everything I need is there. So it's like a Swiss Army knife of machinery. It's really, I plow with it. I plow snow, which is a huge thing, and we're gonna worry about that later with the Cybertruck, whether you can plow snow with it or not. But we basically need one vehicle that does everything.
So one of the things that you do, I know because I see you, is you take your dogs in the truck.
Yep.
Your beagles for rabbit hunting, your spaniel for bird hunting, and they kind of live in your truck also.
Right.
Have the dogs been in the truck?
Oh yeah, they love it. I don't think they think it's looking or anything like that.
Okay, good. Well, and you would know, because if dogs think
Right.
that, you can tell.
Right.
All right. Well, let's test it out.
All right. Well, so I'm not going to play the whole video, but basically you can see that this guy is a regular farmer and he's testing the Cybertruck instead of his normal Ford F-150s, and he's putting it through the paces. What have you heard about this video?
Yeah, so his conclusion kind of all the way through the video was that he thought the truck could do anything and everything that he would do normally, that he was able to test during the summer. You know, he did reference there that one of the things that he does with his Ford is plow snow, and he wasn't able to plow any snow this time of year. And so he hasn't done that portion of the test. The likelihood that the Cybertruck can't plow snow not only as good but better than the Ford is pretty low. So I think it'll pass with flying colors when he gets to that point in time. But he said, yeah, the Cybertruck was actually as good, if not a better truck for all of the use cases that he uses a truck for. Plus, it's way better off-road than his Ford, and obviously way more comfortable to drive. A lot of things are way funner. He's not one that really needs super long distance range. And so the fact that it doesn't have the ability to tow super long distances wasn't a problem for him specifically. And that's really the only really drawback to the Cybertruck if you're a working man, is if you've got to tow long distances. It is kind of a tough platform for that one specific use case. But if you don't have to do that, it can do a lot of the other things really, really well. And he just loved the truck. He loved driving it. It was way more fun. There was a number of occasions where he was getting it up, above 100 miles an hour, and just enjoying the speed and the responsiveness. He loved the steer by wire and how it was able to corner. He loved towing with it as well. He said, it just makes towing feel like you're driving normally instead of like you've got, 10, 12,000 pounds sitting behind you that is slowing you down, and you really got to think about. And he really liked also the way that the steer by wire handled while towing as well. And so he basically just a glowing review from the driver himself. Tucker had some skepticism, and he's more of an anti-technologist, a little bit of a Luddite, and so his commentary was a little bit less positive. And but all of that said, the big takeaway from the video as a whole is that Tucker's audience is very much core truck audience. And to have this review where the person driving the truck really has just 100% positive things to say about it. And it was presented in somewhat of a mixed light. There was one segment where they did talk about like, oh, would you be willing to park it in your garage? And not the person who had the vehicle, but a third person in the interview said, no, I wouldn't want it around my house because I wouldn't want it to catch on fire, and just kind of parroting the typical EV fire FUD. So that was not a great aspect in the video as a whole. But I think, there was good positive coverage of the truck and its capabilities that is, like I said, just going directly into the heart of truck territory. And I think reaching a lot of people, as far as advertising goes, it'd be hard to get the Cybertruck content in front of the same eyeballs that this video is going to get it in front of. And so hopefully that'll be a positive thing for just demand on the Cybertruck long term, which I don't foresee being an issue as they bring up the manufacturing volumes and bring the price down. I think this thing is just going to continue to sell far beyond the expectations of the vast majority of people.
Another marketing thing that just happened, of course, is this guy, Aiden Ross, right? Gave Donald Trump a Cybertruck, and then he had it wrapped with that photo. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, so that's social media marketing gets out there to that base of the full Republican Trump supporters. So they see it as well. So that's great. He's a big supporter of Elon. He's saying a lot of good things about Elon.
Yeah, along with a lot of silly and dumb things about EVs, but how much of that is just pandering to the base? Hard to say at this point in time. He does seem to be someone who can change his mind somewhat. So maybe hands-on experience. It would be really interesting to hear what Trump has to say if he actually gets to drive the Cybertruck himself and can be a little bit more educated on what are the real challenges and drawbacks of the EV platform.
All right. So it's a lot of attacks on the Cybertruck. So there was a video that was starting to get out there showing that the Cybertruck compared to an F-150 failed and it had the bumper fall. And do you know much about what that was?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Whistling Diesel video, which is this review. And Whistling Diesel is a channel that they will torture test trucks or vehicles of all kinds. And their whole shtick is they take mostly really expensive vehicles. So, they'll buy a $400,000 Ferrari and then they'll, over the course of the video, destroy the vehicle and total it out. And so, of course, that's what they're doing with the Cybertruck. And they kind of, tried to make it seem like, at the end of the day, the Ford F-150 would handle the same things that the Cybertruck did and survive them better than the Cybertruck would, except if you actually watch the video, all the things that they do to really destroy the Cybertruck, they did not really do to the F-150. And so, obviously, Whistling Diesel is not a legitimate, this is not a Car and Driver or some sort of thing where they're trying to be objective about what can one thing do versus the other. This is very much an entertainment-centric show. And the purpose is to, make the most sensational content. And so, we can get into what some of the people are saying. They did break the bumper right off the back of the Cybertruck. But the thing that they did to break the bumper off the back of the Cybertruck, magically the Ford F-150 just didn't have to do that. And so,
they made it look like it was towing something and it fell off. But that's not what broke it. This is what actually broke it. Let's take a look at this video. So this is Alex sharing that no pickup truck in the world can be subjected to this type of abuse without sustaining severe damage. In fact, the Ford F-150 in this so-called test was not subjective to 1/10 the abuse that the Cybertruck endured. Here's where the hitch actually broke. This is the part when it did it, not where they tried to show it, which is during a towing session. Right there, boom. When it hit this part, that's when it broke the hitch. And then when they pulled it, it goes, oh, look, the bumper fell off. Look at that.
Yeah. And the other thing here is that the F-150, that's as far as it made it. So that this was the F-150 trying to do the exact same thing that the Cybertruck just did. The Cybertruck made it all the way over all those culvert pipes and then had to drop off the backside.
Yeah.
The F-150 got stuck as soon as it made it onto the first culvert and couldn't go any further because it got high centered. And so it didn't have to do that move that broke off the bumper of the Cybertruck. And yeah,
but the reason it broke was because of that original
of that
right
move.
here.
Now,
Yeah.
there is some legitimacy to the fact that, you know, a tubular steel frame, it probably would have bent here. It probably would have been like severely damaged, to Alex's point. It probably would not have broken off. And that is an inherent problem with a casting versus a, you know, extruded steel tube frame. But either way, like, you still would not have wanted to tow with it, even if it just massively bent it. It would no longer be rated to tow any significant weight because you've just damaged the structure. And so the other thing is that a lot of times these castings can actually be repaired. Those rear portions of the casting where all of that stuff is mounted to is meant to take crash loads and break off and deform in certain ways.
It's supposed to.
And a lot of those parts are actually replaceable and repairable after the fact.
Yeah. So this is another comparison. This Tesla Cybertruck jump was at least 4 times higher. The Ford F-150 would have experienced a rapid, unscheduled disassembly had its jump been that high. Look at the difference. Holy cow. And they think that, you know, it was a fair comparison. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a difference in the amount of energy that they come down to the ground with. And even in the video, there was a very, very quick shot of somebody who showed where the Ford landed and where the Cybertruck landed. And the Cybertruck was like 2 or 3 times further down the hill where it landed compared to where the Ford landed. And so, yeah, I mean, that is very significantly different. And then one additional thing that they did to the Cybertruck, which I don't think that you have a clip of, was they sprayed a pressure washer into the EV charging port. And then they were complaining that it couldn't charge anymore. And I'm like, once again, they did not spray a pressure washer into the gas tank of the Ford F-150. If they had done that, it also would not have been able to drive afterwards. And so just, you know, one more point of the hypocrisy of the test, claiming to be an equal test of the F-150 versus the Cybertruck, but really not at all being equivalent.
Okay, so here's other tests. This is a test of the Cybertruck towing a 40,000 pound because the frame is so fragile. He's joking around, right? He's going, look, the frame is so fragile. Take a look at this be able to tow. I mean, if it can tow this, does that mean that it's so fragile as tow hitch? No.
Yeah, and if the F-150 had tried to do that, the Cybertruck would destroy it in a head-to-head test in that truck pull.
It did it at speed too. That's 300 feet that it was able to pull that, I guess. Yeah, that's a tow test. Okay. And then look how fast the Cybertruck is. Here's another test. It almost beat a supercar. Love it. These are great tests. Let's see, where is this now?
And wait for it, and go. Come on, Zach, track him down. Track him down. Let's go. Oh, just barely. Let's go. Oh, no. No. Oh. Woo.
So close. Yeah.
Faster
I mean,
speed.
absolutely insane.
Okay, that was fun. Those are the Cybertruck stories. Let's get to the next one, which is Elon was actually replied to a comment about that automakers are dumping electric vehicles. They're doing it at massively, low gross margins. They're doing it because they just need to have compliance vehicles. They're just trying to say that they're in the space, but because they're selling this at a huge discounts or loss for themselves, it makes it look like they're competitive to Tesla when they're not. So it started off with Omar saying it's unlikely that Tesla would have sold 2.7 million cars last year. Nick, how do you sell 2.7 million, even if everyone loved Musk? So he's replying to people saying the reason why Tesla's not selling more cars is because of Elon Musk, and he's pissing off half the country. And Omar saying, well, it's unlikely that Tesla would have sold 2.7 million cars last year, even if everyone loved Musk. They only have an installed capacity of 2.35 million. Okay, that's step one. Step two is the main issue is that money-losing compliance EVs are being dumped on the market cheaper than Tesla's. Elon said, yep, other companies dumping EVs at a massive negative gross margin is a problem, but not one that will last. I mean, that's going to be pretty clear in the next year, basically this year. We're going to start seeing electric vehicle companies, automakers who are trying to sell it. They can't keep selling money-losing cars. Omar said, yeah, they're already ramping down production, which is a leading indicator of future sales. You described it well on the earnings call as an EV hangover. Everybody started creating EVs. Many of them can't create it in a profitable way. Now they're pulling back in creating EVs. And so leaves room for Tesla if they needed to. Not that it affected them at all.
Yeah, and I mean, we also just have to take into account the macro environment. It's not a great environment to sell cars in general right now, and especially, the Chinese auto market had gone through a bit of a slump. It seems like it's beginning to recover now. Well, so kind of all of those things combined really was not a great, situation for growing production volumes and growing sales. But a great time for, this is the deal that while other people are pulling back and Tesla is building a base for future expansion, they're building out manufacturing capacity. They're preparing for this next wave where we're going to have these new models, whatever they are, that get us from here to a capacity, instead of that 2.35 million that Omar referenced, a capacity of up to 3 million vehicles. That's before we even launch any new factories. Then that allows us to really grow production in a very capital efficient way into an environment where other car makers are selling less and less. So it's looking like margins are about to expand and market share is about to expand at about the same time. And I think that'll put to bed a lot of the claims that we've seen from very, many people that Tesla's just going to have their lunch eaten by all these other competitors over the long run.
It's the opposite, actually, because battery prices are falling. Margins for Tesla is only going to get better. Meantime, what a weird time for other automakers to pull back their production. So this is most recent data here that electric vehicle costs on track to match the gas guzzlers as early as next year. I think they're talking about the US because obviously different countries, there are already different crossing points, which, for example, China, they've already crossed that point. He's talking about the US. As battery prices drop dramatically, batteries make up about 1/3 to 1/4 of the cost of producing an electric vehicle, according to Goldman Sachs analysts. And they predict that global average cost to automakers for batteries in 2024 will average about $115 per kilowatt hours, 23% lower than last year. That's a huge drop from last year. Prices are expected to fall another 20% in 2025. It's like a basic free fall. EV battery prices fall. Expects a nearly 40% decline between 2023 and 2025. You can see here, cost per kilowatt hour went up 2022. Now we're going back to, that was a blip because of the, I don't know if that's COVID and the recession. It's mostly the recession. And then here you've got it falling. And look at the projection. It's going to continue to fall. So Elon did reference this at the latest earnings call. He said costs have come down for lithium ion cells used in EV batteries, a big reversal from the massive spike during the pandemic when car manufacturers put in giant orders. Then he said at the shareholder meeting, battery cell suppliers have increased their supply So it's perfect timing for Tesla because the battery cell suppliers have increased their supplies, yet the orders from other car manufacturers have declined. Who gets access to these cheap surplus supplies? The drop in demand has impacted the price of lithium. The essential mineral used to make current has plunged more than 70% of the past year.
Yeah, and those $115 a kilowatt hour that was quoted there, I think is a higher price than Tesla is paying for these batteries right now. Jordan estimates that their internally produced 4680s with the cathode that was being imported from LG was costing them around $100 a kilowatt hour. And they were saying that that was not as low as the price that they could purchase batteries for from their external supplier. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Tesla's price on their batteries from those cell suppliers actually being well below that $100 a kilowatt hour mark, which is obviously significantly less than the $115 a kilowatt hour that was quoted as the average across the industry. And all of that means that, Tesla has the ability to provide more cars to more consumers at lower prices. And we've seen them, continuing to offer more batteries or purchasing options here in the United States that are eligible for the IRA tax incentives as well. And so, it looks like Tesla's in a really good spot, especially if you combine that with their recent solution to the dry cathode manufacturing process to be able to produce all of the cars that they can produce from now until 2030, hopefully getting us well in excess of 10 million cars produced in 2030, even though we will probably be shy of the hope that we had of, making it to 20 million earlier, a few years ago. But there should be plenty of batteries, plenty of lithium, all of those things as we move into this next phase of production growth for Tesla. And batteries won't be a limiting factor for us.
So we're going to see electric vehicle prices become lower than gas cars. They're already lower than that in China. Take a look at this. It says here, last paragraph, to be sure, batteries are just one factor in how much electric vehicles cost, which includes everything from research and development to assembly and manufacturing. But it's one of the most important components as the industry races to catch up with China, where the cost to own an electric vehicle is already cheaper than gas-powered car. And then what? We're going to see the more affordable vehicle platform coming out from Tesla this year. You got the battery prices coming down. You've got the new 4680 battery that looks like that they've solved the issue. That's going to reduce the prices some more. There's a battery surplus. So it's looking very good for Tesla and good for the consumer. So,
absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Hans. Follow him on his YouTube channel and on X at Hans C. Nelson. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.